The success of Operation Cupid landed my best friend, Juniper, her dream guy. As a thank you for my wingwoman services, she gifted me the best man. In my bed. You always seem so delicate, like you can't handle a houseplant, let alone this. I muttered through gritted teeth into my phone, my back to the still sleeping man in my bed. The hangover was brutal. Juniper's voice, thick with sleep, answered, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Every muscle ached, my head throbbed. "Don't play dumb. What's the deal with Zephyr?" "Zephyr." Juniper paused. "Didn't you move across the hall from him?" "I just asked him to walk you home." "Did something happen?" I glanced back at Zephyr. He lay on his side, half his face buried in the pillow, dark hair tousled, his bare shoulder above the covers marked with a constellation of something. I mimicked the shape with my fingers, a perfect match. I smacked myself in the face and took a deep breath. Nothing happened. Juniper didn't buy it. "Really? You sound weird." "Seriously," I forced a cheerful tone. "I just got a fright seeing Zephyr asleep on my couch." A low chuckle came from behind me. My hand jerked, accidentally ending the call. Zephyr's voice was rough and sleepy, laced with amusement. "You call this a couch?" He sat up, the duvet pooling at his waist, revealing a sculpted torso covered in even more of those marks. I averted my eyes and, in a moment of sheer panic, pulled the covers higher. He chuckled, a sharp edge to it, and yanked my wrist, sending me tumbling back onto the bed. A jolt of pain shot through my lower back. I winced and looked up into his deep, dark eyes. "What's this about?" he asked. Wasn't there some classic line for situations like this? I furrowed my brow, thinking hard. "Don't worry," I declared. "I'll take responsibility." Even if the how had gone disastrously off the rails, the what was still salvageable. Zephyr stared at me for a few seconds, then snorted. "No need." He held up a hand, making a number with his fingers. I stared, confused. "Just pay me." Zephyr being Zephyr. Even with my massive crush, sometimes I just wanted to throttle him. "I don't have any money, only my life." I fumed. Could I have done this alone? Don't you bear any responsibility? Besides, I was blackout drunk. Who knows who initiated it? I'd drained my savings for this apartment, specifically to be near him. I certainly didn't have money for his services. Unfazed, Zephyr retrieved his phone from his discarded clothes. He tapped a few times and a familiar, giggling voice filled the room. "Hee hee, let me kiss you. Just one kiss and I'll give you anything. Hee hee hee." My shoulders slumped. I couldn't believe how cringeworthy I could be when drunk. And I couldn't believe Zephyr's first instinct was to record me. "Just kill me now," I mumbled, defeated. "I'm broke." Zephyr's long fingers trailed across my neck, stopping inches below my chin. His eyes narrowed, his Adam's apple bobbed. I followed his gaze and instinctively clutched my collar. "Looking's extra." He licked his lips. "I know you're short on cash." I gaped at him. "You know I'm broke and you're still trying to extort me?" He sighed. "Then let's discuss payment in kind." Surprise and a flicker of hope warred within me. Was his payment in kind the same as my taking responsibility? I would soon learn the difference was vast. I wanted a relationship, he wanted a housekeeper. My arguments crumbled before the audio evidence on his phone. "If you're not happy," he'd purr, "I can share these recordings with the work group. Get their opinion." As if everyone at work knew about our supposed rivalry. I'd worked my butt off, on the verge of a double promotion, when Zephyr swooped in and landed the senior position, making me his deputy. The gossip mill had churned enough about that. If they knew I was lusting after him while maintaining a frosty facade, I'd die of embarrassment. Defeated, I signed a 2-month indentured servitude contract. Juniper sent me a video before her honeymoon flight. Checking for onlookers waiting for the elevator, I stepped aside to watch. It was from the wedding reception. Me, in my bridesmaid dress, stumbling towards Zephyr, clinging to his waist, refusing to let go. Juniper and the other bridesmaids struggled to pry me off. I cringed, mortified. Watching that kind of video first thing in the morning, huh? Zephyr stood behind me, hands in his pockets, his gaze on my phone, a hint of disapproval on his face. He was impeccably dressed in a crisp shirt and trousers. The other people waiting for the elevator turned to stare. 2 of them, junior colleagues, exchanged knowing glances and giggled. I closed my eyes, suppressing a surge of anger. "Morning, Zephyr," I chirped, forcing a smile. He straightened, his gaze flicking to my white-knuckle grip on my coffee cup. "That coffee looks good." I plastered a brighter smile on my face. It's from the place across the street. Isn't that where Penny usually gets yours? Penny, his overworked assistant, often commiserated with me about his demanding nature. He checked his watch. 15 minutes until work. If you're free, Deputy Director Linwood, an Americano, no sugar. Thanks. I rolled my eyes, staying silent. The elevator arrived. I stepped forward, but he held me back, letting the doors close without us. What are you doing? I glared. He leaned close, his voice a low murmur against my ear. Linwood, is my waist really that small? I involuntarily glanced down. His shirt was tucked neatly into his trousers, accentuating his trim waist and long legs. Ooh, such a tiny waist. Come on, take your shirt off and let me have a feel. My recorded voice echoed in my memory. Don't drink and proposition. Don't proposition and let yourself be recorded. Humiliated, I muttered, mine smaller, and fled. At lunch, Penny joined me, as usual. Linwood, I saw you buying Director Thorne coffee this morning. Note the distinct difference in how she addressed us. Yeah, so. I'd spent those 15 minutes cursing Zephyr's existence. Penny hesitated. Linwood, she whispered, are you shifting your affections to the director? What? The information overload short-circuited my brain. I stared at her, a half-chewed pastry forgotten in my mouth. They're saying, you're using the director as a rebound after Professor Thorne rejected you. Penny then proceeded to narrate a dramatic tale of unrequited love and heartbreak. It was almost Oscar-worthy, except that I was the star. Apparently, I was pining for Zephyr's cousin, Heath, who'd chosen Juniper. At the wedding, heartbroken, I drowned my sorrows and clung to Zephyr, mistaking him for Heath, pouring out my feelings. No, I interrupted. Haven't you heard of tears of joy? Penny, mid-flow, waved her hand dismissively. Who can tell the difference? Penny. Carter. I enunciated each syllable. Did you attend the wedding just to gather material for office gossip? Penny choked, then cautiously studied my face. Then why were you hugging the director? All right. The true story started a year ago with a fender bender. Juniper rear-ended someone and called me for backup. As expected, she was at fault. Unexpectedly, she was smitten with the other driver. Hiding behind me, she could barely form a coherent sentence. I handled everything, except at the crucial moment of exchanging contact information, she suddenly shoved her QR code forward. The other driver smiled. I'm Heath Thorne. My head snapped up. I narrowed my eyes at his gentle face. Do you know Zephyr Thorne? Heath blinked, surprised. My cousin. That's Zephyr Thorne. Later, a jubilant Juniper informed me that Heath was a language teacher at a school near her bakery. He was also staying with Zephyr while his own apartment underwent renovations. Perfect timing, perfect location, perfect opportunity, Linwood. Please. She pressed 2 beautifully decorated boxes of pastries into my hands. Bribe Zephyr, she instructed, and extract useful intel. I scoffed. Linwood, she pleaded, if this works, you can be godmother to our future children. Seriously? She couldn't even talk to him directly, but she'd already assigned me godmother duties. For weeks, I delivered pastries to Zephyr with a saccharine smile, earning bewildered looks from my colleagues and thinly veiled contempt from him. Finally, as he took his first bite of a mango mousse, I broached the subject of Heath. I was promptly dismissed from his office, along with a scathing review of my baking skills. Crushed, I sought solace in Penny, venting about Zephyr. Why were 2 cousins so different? Heath was charming and kind, while Zephyr was perpetually grumpy. It figured Heath was the popular one. Looking back, that's probably when he assumed I had a thing for Heath. After that, deeming the Zephyr route unproductive, I took on the role of Juniper's wingwoman in earnest. When I saw Juniper walk down the aisle towards Heath, tears welled in my eyes. I felt like a proud mama bird watching her chick fly the nest. Glancing at the impeccably dressed Zephyr, I made a silent vow. Next, it's my turn. Damn it. This was the 109th time I regretted liking Zephyr Thorne. Forced to work late, I dragged myself out of the office at 8:30 p.m., only to receive a text from him requesting takeout. My blood boiled. Takeout it is. I'll give him takeout he'll never forget. I swung by a barbecue place and stormed into his apartment, dumping the bags on his table. He looked up from his work, dressed in a dark blue robe, frameless glasses perched on his nose. Couldn't you knock a little more gently? I gritted my teeth. Your takeout order has arrived. Lamb kidneys, oysters, and chives. Enjoy, Director Thorne. Boost your stamina, so you don't have to dump your work on your colleagues. As his face darkened, a smirk played on my lips. Zephyr, is that your girlfriend? A familiar voice cut through our standoff. I turned and my smile froze. Mrs. Thorne. I'd only met her once at the wedding, but I'd made a conscious effort to make a good impression. So much for that. I watched in horror as she took the takeout bags from me. She smiled warmly, handing me a pair of slippers. Linwood, dear. I didn't realize. Didn't realize what? I looked up at her, confused. That you and Zephyr were together. I started to deny it, but Zephyr clamped his hand over my mouth. He put his arm around me, feigning affection. Linwood and I are having a little tiff, Mom. Go on in. Mrs. Thorne, unsuspecting, headed to the dining room. I swatted his hand away. Before I could speak, he pulled his collar aside, revealing a purplish bite mark on his clavicle. My mom saw this during a video call and rushed over. My face flushed. It hasn't faded yet? Ask yourself. Flashes of the night before flooded back. Zephyr's face, the sweat, the gasps. My throat went dry. Come on, he said, turning. Don't blow our cover. You'll have to explain yourself otherwise. He was so infuriating. I trailed after him, plotting my revenge. Reaching the table, I launched into my tiff performance, ignoring the chair he pulled out for me and sitting opposite him, putting on a pouty, aggrieved expression. Mrs. Thorne, sitting next to me, handed me disposable gloves and asked what was wrong. I shook my head, forcing a smile, and pushed away the chicken wing he offered. Mrs. Thorne caught on. Linwood, dear, is Zephyr bullying you? You can tell me. I'll give him a piece of my mind. So I confessed his unreasonable work demands, making me clean his apartment. I even embellished my movements, clutching my shoulder and wincing dramatically. Mrs. Thorne's expression hardened. The rest of the evening was blissful. Mrs. Thorne and I chatted while eating barbecue, while Zephyr dutifully massaged my shoulders. Pure joy. Lighter, I murmured, turning to him. That hurts. Mrs. Thorne glared at him. Are you complaining? He eased his grip, whispering in my ear, You'll regret this. Regret? He rejected my offer to take responsibility, but he's all in on this fake girlfriend charade. Let's see who regrets it first. I raised an eyebrow, holding a skewer of lamb kidneys to his lips. Here you go. You've been working hard. He chuckled, his hand sliding from my shoulder to my waist, applying just the right amount of pressure. A shiver ran down my spine. Keep it for yourself, he murmured, his eyes glinting. You're the one who needs it. I may have overdone the act. After I stormed out, Mrs. Thorne kicked Zephyr out, ordering him not to return until I was appeased. Lovers' quarrels should be settled in the bedroom, she declared. All for show, of course. Back in my apartment, I overheard her final instruction, make sure you secure a grandchild. I nearly tripped over my own feet. No one escaped parental pressure, it seemed. With Heath married, Mrs. Thorne was clearly stepping up her game. Zephyr endured his mother's lecture with an air of indifference, then knocked on my door. I wasn't falling for that. Through the peephole, I watched him smirk, then casually punch in my door code. Before I could react, the door swung open and we collided. What are you looking at? He asked, unfazed. You told me the code when you were drunk. That doesn't give you the right to just walk in. We have to be convincing, he said, striding into my living room. I'll just be a minute. He stopped by the couch and glanced back at me, a knowing look in his eyes. Looks like you're not much of a housekeeper either. My face burned. It's pretty clean, isn't it? I'd been meticulously tidy since moving in, precisely to prevent this scenario, him seeing my messy habits and clothes strewn everywhere. At least the living room was presentable. Zephyr bent down and picked up a black button from behind the couch. The one you ripped off my shirt. I cringed. When's your mother leaving? I asked, changing the subject. Who knows? He sat down. She was actually calling to set me up on a blind date. He sighed dramatically. Such a shame. He looked so forlorn. All I could think was, I've defiled you. Seriously, Zephyr had gotten through life unscathed purely because of his good looks. Shame about what? I can play the heartbroken ex. You can go on your date tomorrow. No problem. He looked up, his expression unreadable. I shifted uneasily under his gaze. Finally, he chuckled. No, thanks. You've already traumatized me enough. My fists clenched. I lunged forward to shove him out, but tripped, landing on top of him in a heap. It was a hard fall. He groaned. My head smacked against his chin. My skull throbbed. He must be in worse shape. Damn my empathetic heart. I reached up to touch his jaw, already turning red. Are you okay? He grabbed my wrist. Now I'm definitely traumatized. I should have known. I glared at him, trying to get up, but he held me down. Really mad? His voice was smooth and rich, and hearing its softer tones sent my pulse racing. He pointed to the corner of his mouth. Here, bite me. Get it out of your system. Nestled against him, surrounded by his scent, I gazed into his mesmerizing dark eyes. My gaze drifted to his lips, soft and slightly parted. Without thinking, I bit down. I pulled back when I tasted blood, suddenly aware of the intimacy of the act. I flushed, mortified. Zephyr wiped the blood from his lip, a wicked glint in his eyes. There. Proof I've appeased my girlfriend. He may have said it casually, but I floated on air for the rest of the night. Until the next morning, when I spaced out in a meeting and Zephyr seized the opportunity to publicly reprimand me. Another point for the get-even list. When I finally got him, he would pay for every single one. Starting with groveling at my feet. In the break room, Penny made me a calming herbal tea. With Zephyr's focus solely on me, she was enjoying a rare moment of peace. Seeing my glum expression, she dragged me to the photo studio. Come on, Linwood. Cheer up. Let's go look at some eye candy. Better looking than Zephyr? I asked stubbornly. I couldn't yet assess if he was more attractive than Zephyr, but he was definitely younger and more enthusiastic. The moment he saw me, he dropped his water bottle and rushed over, engulfing me in a hug. Linwood, he exclaimed. The studio fell silent. Every eye was on us. I stood frozen, my brain rebooting. Finally, I pushed him away. Staring at his familiar face, I stammered, Asher. Asher grinned, about to hug me again when his manager intervened, pulling him back with a frown. We can catch up after work. Gossip spread like wildfire, especially with Penny present. My phone buzzed incessantly with group messages. Penny looked at me, her curiosity barely contained, yet hesitant to pry. I sighed. Asher was my former neighbor. He moved in across the street when I was in college, so I only saw him during breaks. His parents moved frequently for work and eventually sent him abroad during high school. We'd lost touch after that. Penny looked unconvinced. But he seemed very familiar with you? I shrugged. His parents were always busy. My family often invited him over for dinner. I cooked for him, helped him with his homework, that sort of thing. How thoughtful of you. A cool voice interrupted. Both Penny and I turned to see Zephyr standing behind us. He gave Penny a pointed look. She scurried away. Neighbors, huh? You never cooked for me. His voice was flat. And slacking off during work hours, Linwood. Linwood. Asher, finished with his shoot, bounded over. Before he could reach me, Zephyr pulled me aside, frowning. Don't you know how to dodge? Asher, equally quick, grabbed my other arm. Who's this? Sandwiched between two tall men, I felt like a prize in a tug-of-war, under the amused scrutiny of everyone present. He's my boss, I sighed. Asher, I told you not to be so impulsive. Asher's manager gave me an approving nod and steered Asher away, murmuring instructions. Zephyr's lips curled into a smirk. Boss? What? Is that all we are? He leaned closer, his voice a low murmur. Linwood? It felt like a feather brushing against my heart. My scalp tingled. He was flirting. He had no idea how incredibly attractive he was. A few shots of liquor and I'd be all over him. Instead, I could only glare at him, trying to hide my flustered state. Asher, finished with his manager, beamed at me, slinging an arm around my shoulders. I'm off work. I tore my gaze away from Zephyr. Want me to buy you dinner? Asher winked. You know me so well. Wait for me to finish work. I caught Zephyr's disapproving glance. I can't afford to get in trouble again. Zephyr snorted and walked away. After catching up over dinner, Asher and I strolled along the river. He'd recently returned from abroad, signed with an agency, and was doing mostly commercial work. He had that infectious, sunny disposition perfect for the industry. It was late when I got home. As I punched in my door code, the door across the hall opened. Zephyr stood there, his expression neutral. Back already? Surprised and a little thrilled, I asked, were you waiting for me? He smirked. In your dreams. I rolled my eyes and turned to unlock my door. My mom made you some goji berry and pork rib soup before she left, he called out. Come get it. Intrigued, I followed him into his apartment. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Can I bring Asher to the team-building event this weekend? He hasn't been back long, and it would be a good chance for him to see the area. Zephyr paused, holding the thermos. He raised an eyebrow, a lazy appraisal in his eyes. Significant other? Sort of, I hesitated. Think of him as my younger brother. I braced myself for a lengthy negotiation, but he agreed readily. Sure. He picked up his phone. Here's a link. Vote first. Confused, I clicked the link. It was a photo from the studio that day, Zephyr and Asher, both holding my arms. The poll asked who I'd choose. The angle was perfect, even slightly blurred. The photo had a dramatic flair. Me, the heroine, torn between two very different men. Penny and the others, no doubt. And Zephyr was playing along. I shot him a look. He didn't flinch. Choose me. The nerve. My finger hovered over Asher's name, but Zephyr caught my hand, redirecting it to his own name. I chuckled as the results appeared, understanding his sudden interest. Dozens had voted, and he'd received a pathetically small number of votes. Clearly a blow to his ego. Director Thorne, your popularity rating is showing, I teased, waving my phone. Looks aren't everything. He laughed and shooed me out. Life is full of choices. I didn't expect the next one to come so soon. By the time I'd gathered my things for the team-building trip, the only seats left on the bus were next to Zephyr and Asher. Our department was small, so we only had a minibus. Besides me, only 2 colleagues had brought their partners, leaving 1 extra seat. My colleagues watched expectantly as I stood in the aisle. Penny rubbed her hands together, practically vibrating with anticipation. Asher patted the seat next to him. Linwood, come sit here. Zephyr remained silent, giving me a pointed look before turning to stare out the window. After a moment's hesitation, I pulled Asher up, ignoring his confused expression, and deposited him next to Zephyr. I get carsick. I want to sit alone. Quick thinking, I congratulated myself. I woke up to find Zephyr beside me. Asher, now by the window, was asleep, headphones on, eye mask in place. The bus was quiet. Zephyr was also asleep, his head tilted slightly towards me. His hair fell across his forehead, his eyelashes long against his cheek, his nose straight, his lips. I swallowed, glanced around the bus, then held my hand in front of Zephyr's face, waving it back and forth. No reaction. I poked his cheek. Still nothing. Holding my breath, I quickly pecked his lips and pulled back, my heart pounding. Success. No witnesses. The first day's activity was hiking. We booked a guest house at the foot of the mountain for the night, with plans to explore the surrounding area the next day. The guest house was famous for its homemade wine. After a tiring day, we gathered for dinner, the atmosphere lively with chatter and laughter. Even Asher was persuaded to drink a few glasses. I, however, remained resolutely sober. No questions asked. I wasn't risking another blackmail situation. Zephyr, in a surprisingly good mood, let his colleagues goad him into drinking far more than usual. He was now slumped against me. Asher, clinging to my other arm, pushed Zephyr away. Linwood, he's taking advantage of you, he whined. Yes, I was sandwiched between them again, and this time, neither was sober. Zephyr, oblivious, tightened his grip around my waist, his head on my shoulder. If I could, I'd knock them both out. My poor, delicate frame was about to snap in half. Penny tried to help, tugging at one, then the other, finally giving up with a defeated sigh. Asher, why don't you go back to your room with Penny? I coaxed. No, he mumbled, shaking his head. Don't be alone with him. I looked at Zephyr, nudging his shoulder. He just grunted and shifted into a more comfortable position. Okay, how about this? I continued. Penny takes you back, then comes back for Zephyr. Okay. Asher blinked at me, clearly confused. I gestured towards the staff, clearing the tables and the other guests. There are other people here. We're not alone. With a combination of cajoling and deception, Penny managed to drag Asher away. I tried calling Zephyr's name again. He finally opened his eyes, hazy and unfocused. My heart skipped a beat. I feel bad, he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. I need to sleep. He was the drunk one, but I was the one feeling intoxicated. Somehow, I managed to drag him back to his room. The single room was small. I finally tumbled him onto the bed, sweating from the effort. Zephyr frowned, apparently also feeling hot. He absently unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his collarbone and an expanse of pale skin. Temptation writ large. The temperature in the small room seemed to rise. I knew I had to leave. "I'll check on Asher," I said, reaching for the door. "And ask Penny to come look after you." Zephyr rolled over, his dark eyes filled with silent reproach. Asher came with me. I can't just leave him. He grabbed my wrist, his gaze locking on mine. "I told you. Choose me." I froze. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." Our eyes met, a spark igniting between us. It seemed inevitable that something would happen. Zephyr, clearly thinking the same thing, tugged me down onto the bed. My mind raced. How would I explain leaving his room in the morning? A late-night discussion of departmental strategy? Plausible? Reality intervened before I could figure it out. My foot caught on the bed frame, twisting painfully. I cried out, stopping Zephyr in his tracks. His hand hovered in midair. What happened? Knowing the moment had passed, I took the opportunity to quickly run my hand across his chest before wincing. I twisted my ankle. The haze in his eyes cleared. He sat up, helped me to the edge of the bed, and called reception for a first aid kit and ice. I'd been played. The next day, my colleagues cheerfully explored the local sites while I sulked in bed, nursing my injury. Asher refused to leave me, and Zephyr, ever present, made the small room feel even smaller. We spent the morning playing cards, Zephyr consistently losing as the dealer. I took time off to recover, delegating my work to Zephyr. Asher kept me company for a day before leaving for a film shoot. To my surprise, Juniper returned early from her honeymoon. I hugged her, gushing about our friendship, only to be stopped mid-sentence. "I'm pregnant." I stared at her, speechless, then burst into excited laughter. "I'm going to be a godmother?" Juniper, laughing, gently restrained me. "You've hurt your ankle, and you're still this hyper. What happened?" She glanced meaningfully at Zephyr, who was helping Heath in the kitchen. "Did he do this to you?" I blushed. "That sounds suggestive." Juniper narrowed her eyes. "Be honest, Linwood. Do you really want to be my child's godmother or its aunt? Don't be ridiculous. Don't pretend. You're practically drooling over Zephyr. Do you think I'm blind? Was I that obvious?" Well, Juniper knew me too well. She wouldn't have left me with Zephyr that night if she hadn't suspected something. Juniper grinned, handing me a gift-wrapped box. "A little something for you." "Perfume? You know I don't wear perfume. This is different." She rolled her eyes. "It's from a honeymoon boutique. Use your imagination." "Oh!" I got it. I feigned disgust, but tucked the gift away. As we were leaving, Juniper winked at me. Too bad I was injured. Even if I wanted to use my imagination with Zephyr, I was physically incapacitated. Ugh. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said. "Just impressed with Heath. They haven't even been married long and they're already expecting." I glanced at Zephyr, hope flickering in my chest. Things had felt different between us since the trip. Maybe it was time to break the stalemate. Zephyr's expression remained impassive. "What are you trying to say?" I stumbled. "Can't you tell?" He frowned. "Just say it." "I'm saying." The words caught in my throat. I blurted out, "You're not up to it." After a long silence, Zephyr laughed, a chilling sound that made me instinctively back away, despite my sore ankle. "I'm not up to it," he echoed. I retreated further, until my back hit the wall. He stepped closer. Was I the one clutching my back in agony the next morning? "You." My face burned. I threw my arms around his neck and pulled him down, kissing him before he could react. It was a short, fierce kiss. He pushed me away, his eyes unreadable. "Linwood, I don't want to be your second choice." I stared at him, stunned. Penny's words echoed in my mind. "They're saying you're using the director as a rebound after Professor Thorne rejected you." I dismissed it as a joke. "You'd choose me over Asher," Zephyr continued, his voice flat. "But what about me versus Heath? Are you turning to me because you didn't have a chance with him?" I was shocked. "Zephyr, I never realized." He just stared at me. "How good you are at making things up." That explained his inconsistent behavior. "You're spending too much time with Penny." I gritted my teeth. "I need to have a word with her." Now it was Zephyr's turn to be stunned. "You think I like Heath?" "Do you like me?" he countered. "Enough to spend every workday gossiping about me with Penny?" "Oh, crap." To clear my name as a mere wingwoman, I showed him my entire chat history with Heath, almost every message mentioning Juniper. It wasn't much. He scanned it quickly. He was silent for a moment, then looked up. "You cried at their wedding." "Tears of joy," I exclaimed. "Tears of joy. Do you understand?" A smile flickered in his eyes. He handed me back my phone. "So?" I asked. He pulled me into his arms, his lips brushing against mine. "Let's renegotiate your method of payment in kind." No details needed. I was still recovering from my injury. I later lamented that if I'd known Zephyr was so easy to seduce, I wouldn't have wasted my money moving across the hall, turning myself from comfortably well-off to practically broke. He chuckled, promising me control of his finances. Talk about a reversal of fortune. Zephyr the boyfriend was indulgent. Zephyr the boss, however, remained strictly professional. We still clashed at work. Then again, I was getting 2 salaries for the price of 1. I couldn't complain. I smirked, my foot sliding up his ankle under the table. He immediately fell silent. I smiled inwardly. He was so easy to manipulate. The others in the meeting room watched, bewildered, as our heated debate transformed into amicable agreement, even praising each other's ideas. We hadn't gone public yet, so our sudden change in behavior must have seemed like a shared psychotic break. Penny was the first to catch on. "Linwood," she whispered, "I think the director is in love." "Oh!" I feigned indifference. "Haven't you noticed how much nicer he's been lately?" she asked, her expression odd. "This morning I made a stupid mistake, and not only did he not yell at me, he actually smiled. A dreamy, lovesick smile." She shuddered. It was terrifying. "Linwood, you're his neighbor, right? Have you seen him bring a girlfriend home?" "Half right." "No," I said, trying to keep a straight face. "But what kind of woman do you think he'd like?" Penny thought for a moment, then stared at me. Honestly? Had she figured it out? I nodded. "The complete opposite of you. As a man, I think someone with his reserved personality would go for someone. Bubbly, sweet, clingy." She sounded certain. "All that gossip aside, if he ended up with someone like you, they'd tear each other apart." Sensing my displeasure, she added, "What do you think, Linwood?" "Makes sense." That evening, Penny, armed with popcorn and soda, nearly had a heart attack when she saw Zephyr and me holding hands at the movie theater entrance. "Is it that big of a deal?" Zephyr asked. I burst out laughing, clinging to his arm. "It is. You have no idea what he says about you behind your back." I cooed, putting on my best impression of a love-struck ingenue. Penny turned pale. I patted his shoulder. "Just kidding. We'll see you inside." As we turned to go in, Zephyr pulled me back. "Where are we going?" "The movie's about to start." "Not anymore," he said, without turning back. Bemused, I let him drag me back to his apartment and onto his bed. His eyes darkened, a smile playing on his lips. "Barely recovered and you're already flirting. That eager." I glanced at my pinned hands and rolled my eyes. Penny was right. "About what?" "She said you liked clingy women." He chuckled, kissing my cheek. "I only like you being clingy." It was a rare moment of tenderness, and I was momentarily speechless. Things were progressing nicely until I ruined it. "Shouldn't we make it official first?" I asked, feigning shyness. He froze, studying me. "That's one way to propose." "Propose? It's called being coy." Didn't he get it? I watched in dismay as he rebuttoned his shirt. Frustrated, I pounced on him. "It's not like it's the first time. Let's just do it." He refused. I even deployed Juniper's honeymoon boutique gift to no avail. I sulked for days. Saturday morning, Zephyr dragged me out of bed and into his car, announcing his plan: get our household registration documents and get married on Monday. I'd been half asleep. My head slammed against the car window, jolting me awake. "Isn't that a little fast?" "Fast?" He rubbed my forehead, sighing. "Heath and Juniper met a year after we did, and they've already lapped us with a baby on the way. I've been slow enough." His parents were thrilled, especially his mother, who promptly bestowed her jade bracelet on me upon hearing the news. My parents, however, were a different story. My mother, a sucker for good looks, was captivated by Zephyr. My father, on the other hand, looked like he wanted to punch him. "Linwood isn't getting any younger," my mother scolded my father. "They know each other well." I approve. "What about you?" My mother always had the final say. Sulking, my father challenged Zephyr to a drinking contest. "Dad, don't," I pleaded. Drinking too much is bad for you. He looked hurt. Not even married yet, and you're already taking his side. Will you even care about your old man anymore? No, Dad, I said innocently. I'm worried about you. You can't outdrink him. That roused his competitive spirit. He brought out his stash of premium liquor. Predictably, my father went down first. Zephyr wasn't far behind, giggling and clutching our household registration documents, which my mother had slipped to him earlier. After settling my father, my mother and I hauled Zephyr back to my apartment. I fetched a basin of warm water. When I returned, Zephyr was sitting on my bed, clutching the documents, a goofy grin on his face. Remembering the recording incident, I grabbed my phone and snapped a few photos, planning to tease him later. As I was gleefully documenting his drunken state, he looked up, startling me so badly I almost spilled the water. Come here, he beckoned. I wrung out the washcloth and wiped his face. Happy now that you have the documents? I asked, running my hand over his waist, through his shirt. Can I touch you now? He grinned. Don't you think we're missing something? What? I lifted the hem of his shirt, ready to reacquaint myself with his abs. He caught my hand, and before I could react, slipped a cool band onto my ring finger. Silly, he murmured. Tricked you into marrying me before I even proposed. I stared at the diamond ring, speechless. Lust had truly addled my brain. Proposals, ceremonies, all forgotten amidst the hormonal haze. Do you like it? I nodded fiercely, tears pricking my eyes. I actually got you something too, but it seems insignificant compared to yours. He squeezed my hand. Don't worry. I'll love anything you give me. Encouraged, I pulled open my bedside table drawer and presented him with a newly purchased box of condoms. Do you like it? His perfect composure cracked, his face darkening. He took a deep breath. Linwood, you'll regret this. No regrets. I rubbed my hands together excitedly, then paused. You've had a lot to drink. Are you sure you can? He cut me off with a kiss, silencing my doubts. Later, Zephyr demonstrated conclusively that a man's pride should never be underestimated. Oh, the regret. The end.